Hi, guys. Welcome back. Sometimes the biggest thing holding us back in life is our family. Today, we're going to hear nothing but stories about people with family members that are just holding them back.
When the enemy wants to hurt you, he'll use the people you love. So don't be surprised if family becomes a part of discouragement. Now, there's two sides to that coin, though, because there's some people that love you, and there's some people that love me. And then the challenge is for us to never be the people that the enemy gets to use to hurt somebody else. It goes both ways. But the enemy will definitely use people that we love. I'm talking about our spouse or our children, our parents, our siblings, our church family. He will use family to hurt us, and that could be a cause of discouragement.
That can be very discouraging if you're a person who feels like a member or members of your family are kind of against you and sabotaging your life. Let us know down below.
Yeah, we gotta stop acting like we owe our family more loyalty than we do our friends and people around us. Oh, blood thicker than water. What do that mean anyway? Cause mustard thicker than Hennessy. But I still drink more Hennessy than I eat mustard. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. But a lot of family be feeling like they can treat you any kind of way, talk to you any kind of way, disrespect people around you, and then you're just supposed to move on past it. A lot of family don't even like to apologize or have real conversations after all of that stuff. You're not even taking accountability. To be honest, my friends is like my family anyway. I call them my family. I've been friends with the same people for so long. They show up, they kids, my nieces and nephews. And I'm a good goddamn friend. And I'm a good goddamn family member too. Don't get me wrong, I got some good family amongst me. And I love them to pieces. But we don't have to chase up after no family. We build our own families around here these days. Over the years, what I learned is family will turn into relatives and friends will turn into family.
So that is true, but you know one thing I've learned through life? Best friends and friends are best friends and friends until they're not. Your family might give you some rough times, but you should try to reconcile with your family because your friends really are going to leave one of these days and your family's still going to be there.
It's very appropriate to leave your family, especially if you grew up in a church home where you receive so many prophecies. Your family members may not like it, so they spend their time trying to convince you that you aren't who you are because they're not receiving the blessing that God has for you. You have to watch out because this thing can hinder your blessing. It's not going to stop it, but it can delay it because you're looking for support from the main people trying to tear you down because they don't want you to have the birthright blessing from the Lord. So delete them people, block your mama, block your daddy, whoever acts like you're not who you are when God says who you are, and there are prophets who come and talk to you and remind you who you are in front of those people. Let them go. I don't care if it's your mama. I don't care if it's your daddy. Block them. Block them and let them see the fruits from far away because they know who you are. They just trying so hard to make sure you don't ever find out.
Think your parents are just concerned about you. Here's my thinking. Let's say this is your best friend. Your best friend is telling you block your mom, block your dad, unless they see you as the prophet that you are. There are no more prophets. You're not a prophet. You're a teenage girl or a 20-year-old girl. Go back to your family. You're making a mistake. Wouldn't it be cool if friends actually told you the truth rather than what you wanted to hear?
To be honest, family don't always really love you, okay? They can secretly hate you and act like they love you and be your spiritual enemy behind the scenes. And sometimes they might not even know it because it is a spiritual warfare. So if you're unconscious, you don't even realize exactly who you are in that person's life until you actually reflect, you know? Sometimes you have to reflect. You have to pull out that subconscious and bring it to the forefront, okay? So make sure that you guys really know what's going on. One of the reasons why a lot of people keep having the same repetitive issues with the same people, whether it's family or not, because a lot of you guys keep allowing people to do the same things over and over to you, blinded to what is really going on, that you just keep welcoming it and giving yourself the excuse that, well, it's family. Family is everything. You gotta love family. You know, we have to forgive. It is vital that you forgive, granted. It is not vital that you be stupid and allow the same things to keep happening, okay? Because what y'all don't know, that this spiritual warfare is very, 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 very hard to detect, especially to the ones that really don't know much about it and really don't care to get to know, just claiming that they know that it's there, okay? That's the crazy part, because that is how you all stay in the illusion, claiming you know, but not caring, not allowing yourself to be awakened and in the safe zone, literally, okay? You guys keep people around you guys that carry spirits to keep you stuck, blocked, hindered, to keep you in some type of control, in a box, whatever.
Here's what bothers me with today's youth. Their parents say stuff that doesn't sound like gibberish and they don't want to listen to it. Then they hear gibberish like this woman saying and they listen to it. What is wrong with our kids? You guys listen to people that talk about spirituality and they don't even live their lives well. And then they tell you to rebel against your parents because they don't have a good relationship with theirs. It's very scary. A lot of our communities that are overrun with poverty, they get their advice from their friends. Your friends are not who you should be getting advice from. Most of the time, believe it or not, as crazy as it sounds, it's probably your parents.
Listen, this is the tea. Ooh, you got enemies. Got a lot of enemies. You got a lot of people trying to drain you of this energy. And who are they? Spirit is saying this are your evil family members. Okay, you need to beware of the family, the people that are around you that you consider family, because they are your enemies. They are plotting behind your back. Somebody comment below. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. God, please reveal to me my enemies. My enemies will be exposed. Whatever affirmation you're feeling right now, comment this down below, because I'm telling you, you got a lot of enemies. So therefore, you're doing something popping. You're doing something good. And it's causing them to be envious of you and to want to eliminate you. Somebody comment below. You cannot eliminate me. You cannot eliminate me. I am undefeated. Woo! I am undefeated. I'm telling you, somebody here is undefeated and you're being warned, okay? I am using my Chosen Ones Oracle deck. If you guys like to purchase this, just go to magicgotthetea.com and you can purchase this.
So she's talking about God, and then at the same time, she's messing with, I don't know if those are tarot cards or spiritual cards or what type of cards they are. But do you really want your future to be determined by a woman with a top hat and cards? Sad thing is, people are nodding their head. Yes, Jesse, I do.
Okay, Spirit is saying, listen, you have courage. You have a gift. You're the one that's gifted. Comment below. I am gifted. I am chosen. It is you who has the courage to do what others don't do. And that's going to bring in a lot of envy from these people.
I want you guys to think about something. If you're a Christian, if you saw somebody holding up a picture of a goat man with horns, right, which looks kind of like the devil to me or something, right? That's one of those things that we tell our kids to run from. If you're taking advice from this chick, you need to start running back to your family.
Sometimes like we talk about narcissistic parent and having a narcissistic parent and things like that. But, like every family has their secret or certain things. One of the most disheartening and lonely parts of having a narcissistic parent is that although as a collective, as a community, we can all sit and we can all, talk and we all have this in common, that we grew up in narcissistic family and stuff like that. Because these people are so diabolical and they're so evil, there's certain things that narcissistic parents do that is so diabolical and it's so disgusting, you can't even repeat it.
Are there some disgusting people? Yes. But you want to know something? The people that are constantly complaining about everybody, using words like narcissistic and microaggressions and you're being passive aggressive, Patty, the people that use that verbiage, they all tend to have a nose ring. They all tend to be anti-family. They tend to be pro people like Luigi Mangione, right? You guys are on the wrong side of things. You're just not in a spot where you can see the error of your ways. Instead of trying to change the world, work on the person in the mirror, and you'll be amazed at how nicer the world can be. Hey, just look at these people, and it's like we have a whole generation of young adults that have been so against their family members, and they've been preaching to the choir, which is all the other young adults. And you guys have gotten to the point where you're kind of making the world suck. Young people really bother me. We're living in a world where nobody wants to say, maybe my life is because of the decisions I've made. Instead, we all want to blame other people. If your dad's a jerk, maybe it's because he doesn't like the decisions you make. If your mom's a bitch, maybe it's because she doesn't let you get away with your bullshit like your friends that really don't care do.
I know some of y'all are dealing with evil family members. The best thing you can do for yourself is disengage from them, separate yourself from them, get as far away from them as possible. This is very important for your spiritual health. And don't try to exact revenge against them. God, the universe, karma will deal with them.
Now, see, that's the best advice you can have. If you're having trouble with somebody, don't take your mom out. Don't take out a family member. Don't beat up a family member. Let God fight your battles for you and just move on. When you harbor energy that's negative towards other people, like anger, rage, envy, and spite, those are things that eat away at you. It doesn't even hurt the person you're directing it to half the time.
You say you gotta move in silence. Yes, KM. I'm telling you, when I tell you I learned. And do you know this dog still, even to this day, y'all, still be trying to use flying monkeys, still be trying to use anybody that she can to just try to find out information about you because they in a whole secret competition with you that you didn't even have a clue about. You didn't even know you was signed up in the competition. Y'all, I'm telling you. And these dogs have evil eyes. And when little children and stuff is born, I'm telling you what I know. They look at the kid. They look at the physical attributes of the child as well. And then when that child get old enough where they can speak, they be asking them questions. What do you want to be when you grow up? So they can try to already put it into play to stop and block it. I'm trying to tell y'all.
Sometimes you can tell by the tone in which people talk. If someone's really excited, you expect something to be exciting, right? If somebody's really angry, you expect there to be a fight or something right around the corner. If your friends and the people that you listen to have to be such a dramatic show every single time they give you advice, you have to really wonder who you're taking advice from. All of these people are the type of people that your friends will say, wow, I really dig what this person's saying. They're really giving good advice. But the reality is, none of these people are really giving good advice. Your friends are not always going to be there for you. You are lucky if you can count your friends on one hand. And even though you feel a way about your friends now in your 20s, good luck feeling that way when you're in your 30s. Can I get an amen? Another thing is your family members, you're always going to have sibling rivalries. You're always going to have cousins that wish they had the benefits in life that you have, or that wish that you were up to their grade because maybe they had more benefits. There's always people that are going to compete against you, especially your friends. And pretty soon you'll realize that when you break up with your girl, your friends are going to be the ones that want to date your girl. When you break up with your job, your friends are going to stay there and take a promotion. Things happen. When you're in the picket line with your buddy John, you're going to get laid off and John's going to get the raise. Things are not what they always appear, but you need to learn to take advice from people that are calm, rational, and down to earth, because that's the type of person everybody should aspire to be. You don't want to be somebody that's so emotional that you fly off the handle. You don't want to be somebody that looks for the bad in your family members. Oh, your family members are trying to learn your business. You know what? You don't have to be a top secret person, but at the same time, you don't have to give everybody your secrets in life, right? But at the same time, sometimes friends and family member ask other friends of yours about you, not because they're nosy, but because they feel like they can't talk to you. Because how do you talk to people like this?
Narcissistic families are evil. They are a cult. There is this heavy, dark shame, guilt that you carry your entire life when you're from a narcissistic family. It is ugly and heavy. I always felt like I was wrong, guilty when I didn't do anything. And I would keep these weird secrets about normal things that normal people don't keep secrets. I had these secrets Like if I got something on my shirt as a small child, I would feel guilty and like I was in all this trouble and I was bad, and I would hide it underneath my bed or in a box in the back of my closet and live with this dread of being a bad person. I would just keep all this normal shit a secret. I had all these secrets that made me feel even worse about myself because of my weird family. It's so sick. And even as an adult, when I got a new car, I would park it down the street from my parents and hide it. Was all preoccupied with hiding this car because my parents were gonna yell at me for wasting money on a new car when it's my money.
So this person in a minute and a half complained about her family about a dozen times, said the F word another 10 or 15 times, described behavior that's very erratic. Could that be because her dad was a jerk when she got a mustard stain on her clothing when she was younger? Yeah, I suppose so. But for all the guys that are in their 40s and 50s, even if you were a hothead when you were 20, isn't there a good chance that when you're 45 or 50, you're gonna mellow out? I don't know how people could even have a conversation with somebody like this. And by the way, I've had a lot of friends that were like this. A lot of times when we're younger, we are so emotional and we make such a mountain out of every molehill. I'm telling you, 90% of the problems that we have with the world are actually in between our two ears. And by the way, if you really hate what I'm saying, let me know down in the comments. But here's the problem. You're used to watching videos where people tell you what you want to hear. And that's why the world sucks, because in reality, people don't give a shit about you. They really don't. So all the time you spout your crap and your friend says, yeah, you're right, John. You're right, Bill. You're right, Betty. Those are people that are just telling you what you want to hear. Sometimes you need to hear things that you really don't like.
Some of them, see, when you come from under this coat, they can't stand the fact that they can't control you anymore, like the rest of them, see. They cannot stand the fact that they have lost control over you. And remember now, what witchcraft really is. Witchcraft is manipulation, intimidation, and control. Okay? So you've come from under their witchcraft. Basically, when they stop being able to control you, know how they used to be able to come and emotionally witchcraft you, well, that's your mama. That's your mama. Times with the narcissist explain. Now you should give your mama that money. You know she need it. Don't worry about what she gonna use it for. Like they come and emotionally try to witchcraft you.
So your mom has a drug problem. Your mom has a lot of bills. Your mom's bills are more than money she makes. She comes and she asks money too much. Sometimes you have to say no because you have to take care of your own family, right? But the reality is, your mom and dad are more than likely not witches. They're not using witchcraft. They do get a little disappointed when they ask you for a couple bucks and you say no. But you want to know something? When you were a teen and asked your mom and dad for a couple bucks and they said no to you, it would disappoint you as well. A lot of times people are making a mountain out of a molehill. If somebody's talking with you about witchcraft, run the other way.
Once upon a time, there was a woman. This woman had a son that she loved very much. Unfortunately, her and her husband got a divorce, and her little boy was very distraught. When he was 4 years old, she was just walking through the house, minding her own business, when suddenly she was hit in the back of the head with a vacuum. After coming to on the ground, she looked back at him and said, "Why did you hit me?" And he says, "Daddy wants you dead, so I have to do it." Once upon a time, there was a mom, and the mom loved her son very much and put him to bed, and he looks at her and he says, "I'm going to stab you with a sharp knife. I'm going to go in the kitchen and get the sharp knives. When you fall asleep, I'm going to stab you in your bed." The mom says, "No, you are not going to. I will not let you." And then the little boy says, "I'm going to cut your tongue out so no one will hear you scream." Once upon a time, a mom got a call from her son, and he requested that she come pick him up and they drive across country so that he can get out of that relationship. So the mom flew to one of the coasts and drove with him in a truck with all of his stuff back across the country because she loved him and he asked. During the drive, something happened where she asked him a question, and the son reached under the seat, grabbed a giant knife, and said, "I'm going to stab you. Is this what you want?"
And that takes us to the next story on our walk. Guys, I think that when it comes to family members, you can't treat them like friends because they're more than friends. And you can't treat friends like family members because they're going to let you down and not be in your life all the time. Again, you're lucky if you have one or two friends. What you can do is make plans and dive into your think tank. So go get your shoes. Let's go for a walk. Well, happy 3rd of January, Venters. Guys, I had 24 hours to get that football game out of my system, and boy, do I feel better. I want to let you know that sometimes when you get away from something from 24 hours, it's just long enough to let you know ASU got robbed. God damn it. We got cheated. I thought after 24 hours, those feelings of being cheated would go away, but you know what? I got to relook at that play. It was targeting. But anyway, guys, I'm here to talk about something that's a real travesty because, believe it or not, I was joking there. I do feel like we got cheated, but, you know, here's the cool thing. Now we can always wonder what if. Damn it, I got cheated. Guys, check this out. There's a 33-year-old man from Akron, Ohio, who actually took his mom's life. On November 15th, an Akron judge, son of a bitch, these damn judges are so worthless, lets him out of jail. 1 month later, he actually takes out his mom, and guess how he did it? He literally beat her to death. Or as YouTubers like to say, he unalived her. It was so sad. She actually made a phone call to 911, and she actually said, "My son, he just beat me. I need help." And the 911 operator actually had the audacity to say, "Do you want us to send a paramedic?" I mean, seriously, come to reality. Where are these people coming from? That's why I believe we're in a simulation, because you've got all these people that have no common sense. You're a 911 operator. He's beating her to a pulp. She calls you, and if you would have heard her voice, it was just the saddest voice. And to think that his answer to all that was, "Do you need some help? You need me to send out a paramedic? You piece of crap." Now, the only thing I can think of is that maybe the 911 operator already had a paramedic coming out. He was just trying to keep her calm and on the phone. But let's be honest, that's probably not the best way to keep somebody calm or on the phone. If you guys don't mind, give me a story or two down in the comments about a time when you were cheated. And who knows, maybe we can start a nice dialogue, because everyone has been cheated once or twice. I'll tell you who was cheated out of her life. This mom, her name was Tara Brooks. Her son, Travis Goodwin, was actually suffering from mental illness, but he was one of these folks with mental illness that had a rap sheet a mile long. The police and the paramedics arrived, and they took Mrs. Brooks to the hospital, but because he broke her ribs and punctured her lung, she ended up passing away like a day or two later. So it was one of those things where she probably lost her life in one of the worst possible ways that you can, where she probably felt pain and discomfort for the last 2 or 3 days.
So he had a violent criminal record dating back to 2010. He had a history of mental illness. He actually suffered from schizophrenia, which is what my Uncle David had. And I don't know if you guys have remembered or if you guys knew this, but when my Uncle David was in the throes of his illness, not taking his medication, it was literally like living with the devil. The guy was very unnormal. The weirdest things would set him off. And it was scary. And for me to have to grow up with that as a little kid was just a nightmare. Somewhere along the lines, he started getting medicine and medication, for his illness. And when he took his medication, he just became the nicest guy in the world. But the problem with the mental illness of schizophrenia is once their medicine makes them feel normal, I've heard that a lot of them have this condition where they feel like they no longer need their medicine. And so every 3-4 years, my Uncle David would quit taking his meds, and pretty soon we could find out, because the first day or two he acts relatively normal. But by the time he was on day 3, 4, and 5 of not taking his meds, oh my God, it was just like, who's this crazy demon that we're living with? And you might say, Jesse, is demon a little bit harsh? No. If you've never dealt with somebody that has mental illness, specifically schizophrenia, it can literally feel like you're in the presence of somebody that's not very human anymore. And that is not me putting those people down. That is me letting you know that whenever people are talking about mental illness, it is a big thing. And when you see these people that are homeless and they're struggling with mental illness, that's why I believe that those people should be forced to take their medication. Now you might say, that's just awful. You feel that way, Jesse. But if you don't medicate these people, people like Miss Brooks here end up losing their lives. What was on his rap sheet, Jesse? Was it jaywalking? No, that's what I do. I'm a jaywalker just like many of you. His discrepancies included battery, assault, sexual assault as well, right? Bad stuff. In 2014, while he was in jail, he actually had charges pressed against him by a policeman because he assaulted an officer while he was in jail. We're talking, this guy had no business being released. And for some reason, somehow, this judge released him. Probably felt like he did a good deed letting this guy out for the holidays. And he absolutely is the reason that this woman, Mrs. Brooks, is no longer alive. Lilith's Cosmic Lounge says, keep him locked up for life. Rest in peace, victim. Here's the sad thing. They're going to put him away, not for life, but probably 15 to 20 years, and somebody will fight to get him released in 7 to 10 years. They'll come up with an argument that says he didn't hurt society, he hurt one of his family members. I'm telling you, the people that fight for the rights of the bad guys, they are really part of the problem. I would even argue that judges and lawyers that fight for these people actually make the world worse than what it should be, and therefore they should be held accountable. Love's Hangover 5062 says the judges need to be held accountable for these crimes. I always see their question and then I start reading or talking in front of it. But yes, the judge really should be held accountable. That guy, you know as well as I do, he probably had the most beautiful Thanksgiving with his family. He probably had the most beautiful Christmas with his kids. He probably is taking the annual raise allotted to him by his government job, and he probably doesn't think twice about it. I don't know about you guys, but if you guys knew that you let out this guy and he did this to his mom, would any of you guys feel guilt, and would any of you guys have a hard time sleeping? Because I guess that's what I don't understand about the judges. I would have a hard time living with myself if I knew I was letting people like this out into the community. My solution to every problem is jail time. Jail time. That's what my show would be if I ever made it big on TV, Mala. Jail time with Jesse Jameson, and it would be about wannabe criminals. I'd be like, that guy wants to be a criminal. Jail time. Longy 1918 says, it's a shame they probably knew he was dangerous and let him out anyway. Well, let me ask you this, Longy. If some guy has a rap sheet a mile long and it's not just thinking he's dangerous, but it is actually knowing that he's actually a threat to the community, the society, the city, the world, why the heck would anybody let this guy out? And how can you not tell me that the judge is guilty of a crime? The judge should be thrown in jail. You want to know something? I think we're going to find out that the Bible is actually the best way to go. And let me tell you what I mean. You've all heard that saying, judge not lest ye be judged. I think in the future we are going to hold judges accountable. And I think the judges are going to be in for a real amazing future. Jackson Clark, 2881, says, he beat me real bad. That was the mom talking to the 911 operator. And the 911 operator comes back with, do you need an ambulance? And then Jackson Clark finishes it up by saying, where is the common sense? You know, this is what gets me. I feel like younger people, I mean, for all I know, this could have been a 40 or 50-year-old 911 operator. But I feel like younger people nowadays, they grew up with their phone. I don't think young people realize what's right and what's wrong, what's proper and improper, what's polite. It's almost like when you go and you play golf. If any of you guys have ever played golf, almost everyone notices right away there's etiquette. You don't walk in front of somebody that's putting. You don't make noise and talk while a person's in their backswing, right? You're expected to kind of call yourself out. You're not supposed to cheat in golf, because the only person you're cheating is really yourself. And I feel like in life, what we need to do is we need to have every kid that goes through grade school, give them their choice. Hey, you can take an etiquette class where, you know, it's real life manners and how to act, right, at the dinner table and stuff. Or if you don't want to take an etiquette class, you can take a course of golf. Because number one, golf teaches you how to play a game against yourself, how to get better by improving. It also shows you that walking is actually a pretty darn good sport in and of itself. If you've ever walked 18 holes, you've walked, I don't know, 3 miles? You've walked quite a bit of walking. But more than anything, it teaches you how to be honest. You can lie to the world all you want. People do it all the time. But you need to stop lying to yourself. And I would just feel really bad if I knew that, hey, people are going to hear this 911 recording, and instead of hearing you say, ma'am, I want you to stay calm, I'm going to get some paramedics out to you right away. Is he still there? Do I need to send the cops, right? Instead of doing the right thing, he just asked a question that made it look like he wasn't listening to her at all. Could you imagine telling somebody that you were hurt, your son just beat you to a pulp? And then they come back with, are you hurt? Do you need help? I mean, how insensitive is that? So if you're my age, pushing 50, you know as well as I do, our kids are all in their 20s. Some of our kids are very smart and very polite. And then some of our kids are just, they're doofuses. I mean, seriously, our young people nowadays are stupid and they're rude. And when you combine those two things, it's no wonder that we have so many problems in this country. And then we tell people from a young age, or at least the good parents among us do, we tell people that there's consequences for bad behavior. You want to do good by people. You want to treat others as you would like to be treated, right? The golden rule. But I feel like these kids nowadays, I feel like their parents don't teach them about that stuff. Judith, US3XR, says his mother was probably the only one who cared for him. We need long-term secure mental health facilities. So the reason I wrote down that comment is that's something I was mentioning the other day. For some reason in this world, and I think it was something we were propagandized to believe, but I want your guys' input on this. We were taught from a very young, early age, they had movies about it, about how all these insane asylums and mental warehouses where they kept people, they made it sound like they were just horrible, deplorable conditions, and that we were a better country to get rid of those things, for those things to be something from the past. But if you were to really be honest, knowing what you know now as an adult, and knowing what you know now about how many people with mental illness end up flipping out and doing these things to people, including their own mom, it just makes you wonder, were we actually brainwashed into thinking that was a bad thing? Because if you ask me, I'm on the same page as this person's last comment. We need to have mental health care facilities. Now, you can call it a mental health care facility and it sounds professional and proper, but what they're really saying and describing is a mental insane asylum. Sometimes people are so loopy and out there that their parents and family can't control them. Otherwise, they probably would. The police and law enforcement can't control them. And the crappy thing about it is, like I said, there's always some person willing to get them out of jail, let them off early, commute their sentence. And it ends up being a punishment on everybody else around them. So my thinking is we need to quit bragging about how we got rid of places where people with mental illness can actually go. I think that's the stupidest thing we ever started bragging about, and we need to bring those facilities back. We all pay a boatload of taxes. Wouldn't it be nice if that tax money actually started making our communities better? Do you guys realize that the more money we spend on everything, it gets worse? There is not one thing that the government spends a boatload of money on that actually gets better. We don't need to send police people over to help you, ma'am. I'm going to send a social worker and a guidance counselor. Those people don't help nothing. They don't. It's just true. They don't. Could you imagine if somebody was trying to hurt you and instead of the cops coming out, you had a social worker come out? Oh my goodness, wouldn't that just be an incredible slap in the face? What we need to do is we need to let people know from an early age that there actually are punishments to making bad decisions that hurt others. And we need to start letting them serve their punishment. And if you have somebody with mental illness, it needs to be in law that if you have mental illness, you need to take your medicine. I heard the other day, we were watching a video together, and in the video, the person said that they were having epileptic seizures. And when you have these seizures, where you can just fall asleep or you can black out or whatever, you're no longer allowed to drive your car. Now, some people might say, oh my God, if you take away my car, you're going to make it impossible to live. That's just one of the decisions that we made as a people, that we don't want people that are going to have a seizure while they're driving their car because it's not safe. So how does it make so much sense when it comes to a driver's license, but then when it comes to the safety of the community at large, we just ignore these things? That comes across as crazy to me. When ASU commits a penalty, they lose the game. When Texas commits the penalty, they get a do-over and it doesn't count against them. It's the weirdest thing. It's got to be a simulation that we're in. There's no other answer for it. You know what's interesting? You see these people that walk their dogs. You ever seen a violent dog, right? Where it's just like, wow, what's wrong with your dog? And they're like, you know, we treat it nice, but it's just always been kind of aggressive and mean, and they're trying to hold it back, and it's practically breaking their leash just to get to you because it literally wants to jump on you. Whether they're going to lick you to death or not, it's scary because you don't know if they're a licker or a biter, right? Just like the men and women out there, you don't know if they're lickers or biters. But anyway, make a long story short, if somebody let their wild, crazy dog off in a dog park and it just went to town and started biting every small dog it could till it killed the dog, right? Everybody would say, how dare you let such a wild animal out in the dog park so it can hurt our little Chihuahua, even though they know their Chihuahua is the meanest dog in the country, right? But that's what they would say. And everybody and their mother would say, this is an animal, it's animal cruelty that you let that dog eat every other person's dog. Because it's animals, we can actually make a righteous decision that makes sense. But when it's human beings, for some reason, we are no longer able to make the logical choice. That's why I walk. Guys, every day we walk. Because every day, if you watch the news, there's a lot of negative stuff. That's why occasionally I like to read the Good News Network and share those stories with you. Occasionally I like to tell you the story about the local football hero here at Arizona State, right? I like to talk about different topics because sometimes people can get wrapped up into these negative topics a little too much. It's good to vent, but you got to remember this is just one story out of the 330 million of us here in America. And if we threw in the other 35 million from Canada, it's just one person and one story out of 400 million. Most of us are good people. Most of us, believe it or not, aren't dealing with mental illness, thank God. And most of us do have issues that affect all of us, right? If you have arthritis, you're one of millions that have arthritis. If you have bad eyesight, you're one of millions that have bad eyesight. The problem all of us suffer from is we have a little too much fat, we like sweets a little bit too much, and we all want to live a little longer. So the way we're going to do it is together. Get your shoes on, go for a walk, and I'll see you tomorrow.